My story obviously has a lot of Chick-fil-A woven through it. I was born in 1950, so you can do the quick math. I'm 64, I turned 65 in May. Jimmy Collins, the CEO of Chick-fil-A, who I met, calls me and he said, you know, we don't have a marketing department and we're looking to start a marketing department. Your name keeps coming up. Would you have an interest in interviewing with us? The adventure with Chick-fil-A begins to interview. Well, I interviewed with Six Flags one day. I interviewed with Truett and his team for 5.5 months. And I'm doing this stealth. And Truett has an interview with me late in the process in December of 1980. Truett Cathy was our founder. He passed away this past September. And I asked Truett, what are you looking for in the ideal marketing candidate? And am I the guy? Because Truett, I'm doing this quietly. I do love the job I have. He was about 60 at the time. He puts the sandwich down. We're eating in his office. And he answered me this way. He says, I have absolutely no idea. Whatever it is, I don't want to do it. And then he says, however, I want to know that you and I can work together until one of us dies. And he winked and he said, I intend to outlive you. And I want to know we can trust each other and have fun together. And I'll count on Jimmy and others to figure out whether you're capable of doing the work. He was more interested in who I was as a person and my character and our chemistry together than just the issue of competency. And at the time I thought that was incredibly strange. Once joining Chick-fil-A, that DNA is all over Chick-fil-A. That process is all over Chick-fil-A, both in operator selection as well as staff selection. We coined a phrase for it, competency, character, and chemistry, but it came from him. He lived it out in every interaction. His theory was very simple. If I attract the right people in the business, I don't have to work very hard. And he would tell you that. And he would tell you, I don't want to work very hard. If I got to work very hard, I don't want to grow. Now think about that. He was not obsessed with growth. He was obsessed with service and attracting great people to the business. He was motivated by attracting great people to Chick-fil-A. But it was not about growth. But what he got in return for attracting great people to the business was growth. Unbelievable growth. So the short of it is I joined them in January of 1981. And he was right. They didn't have a marketing department. They didn't know what marketing meant. There was no data about customers. There was virtually no marketing resources available to Chick-fil-A operators. And I started an adventure and hired two key employees within a year and just did a lot of store visits and research, and we started the journey. We didn't build our first freestander until 1986, but between the time I joined them and that first freestander, something happened during the Jimmy Carter years. Most of you may remember. The market took a dive and the cost of money was 16 to 18%. And we were borrowing money to build a new building, headquarters building. And it was, everything stopped. Mall development stopped, sales slowed down. And Truett in his wise, articulate, strategic way came into a Chick-fil-A executive committee meeting one day, and he looked at all of us and he said, what are you going to do about it? That's it. What are you going to do about it? So our reaction was, we'll get together and we'll brainstorm through, we'll work on this. He said, well, I want to be there. So we go off campus, another milestone moment. We go off campus up to Lake Lanier, and this is not 1982. And we get in a room and we're going to figure out what we're going to do to turn this thing around. Well, as we start that process, we figure out, we really already have good plans on the books. We've already committed the available cash for growth. Not a lot we can do differently. And Dan Cathy, who's now the CEO, asked the question, well, maybe we're talking about the wrong thing. So maybe we ought to be talking about, why do we exist? Why are we in business? Now, it was very clear in Truett's mind why he was in business, but there was nothing on paper, there was no words, there was nothing that helped communicate as the business grew. Would there be clarity about why we exist? And Dan asked the right question. It was God ordained, and we spent 2 days writing what became the Chick-fil-A corporate purpose. To glorify God by being a faithful steward of all that is entrusted to us, and to have a positive influence on all who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. 3 big ideas. Honor God, positive influence, hinging on great stewardship. Truett was passionate, apparently, particularly about the issue of stewardship. His point was, if we're not great stewards of people and money, we don't have a platform to do the other 2 things. And I remember him sitting there in his t-shirt making his point in that little hotel room at Lake and Air. We came back, we prayed about it, we didn't tell any of the staff for several weeks, and we finally announced it. There's now a steel placard at the front door of the building. It's been there ever since late 1982 with corporate purpose on it. And it reminds us every day why we exist, why we're in business. And quite honestly, as a believer, it reminds me why I exist. We hired an agency out of Dallas called the Richards Group, and the initial strategy was to just start with 3D billboards because we could not afford the traditional media that other fast food players run. And everybody else in the fast food space was using billboards to tell you where to turn or what something cost. And their idea was, why don't you use billboards to build the brand and break through the clutter. They work 365 days out of the year. They came up with the idea of using what's called spectaculars, large high volume locations or boards or side of buildings or water towers. And they came up with the idea of the 3D cows, and one of the creative concepts they brought us one day, we had about 7 different billboards, and the cows was one of them. We all lost it. We just went crazy. This is unbelievable. It's funny, and we're still taking shots at the beef guys. And so the first cow billboard ran in 1995, and it was our intent that was just one of many billboards. All the billboards are 3D executions. Well, that board went up. We put it up in 20 markets. The buzz was immediate. We had a pair of cows stolen off a billboard in Chattanooga. We had CNN coverage, radio talk shows going up on the cow billboard decks and broadcasting from the boards. Well, even the guys from Atlanta and South Alabama could figure out maybe we got something here. And we sat down with the Richards Group and said, listen, we think you do have something here that's bigger than just a billboard. Take 3 months, and what would it look like if the cows became the official spokespersons of Chick-fil-A? Now you laugh at that, but one of their first pieces of work was to write the Moo Manifesto, and I can stand up here and quote it to you. I'm ashamed to say I probably know it better than some passages of scripture. But the Moo Manifesto basically transformed the cows into personalities that captured the personality that we wanted for Chick-fil-A. Unexpectedly fun, not taking ourselves too serious, a little renegade, not your normal brand, the unexpected, etc. So that was 1996. We actually launched the campaign. Give you a feel for the growth. 1997, we did our first deal with the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl because we're now becoming a regional brand. They had a deal with ACC and SEC. 2000, we hit $1 billion in sales. So in 1967, the business began as Chick-fil-A in a mall. It took from 67 to year 2000 to hit $1 billion in sales. This past year, we had sales of $5.8 billion with 1,900 locations. The highest average same-store sales in any fast food concept, highest average sales of any fast food concept, over $4 million in average sales. The average operator, I don't know what TJ's income is, but the average operator last year made over $300,000. The operator deal is the engine of Chick-fil-A. The operators are independent contractors. We own the brand, we sublease the brand. They don't put any money in the deal other than $5,000 earnest money. They pay us a percentage off the top for the brand and all the brand support, marketing, accounting, operational support, training, etc. The employees and all the expenses are their responsibility. After all their expenses, we split the bottom line 50-50. So it's not an equity deal, it's a cash flow deal. And their income is from their half. And so when I say the average operator income last year was $300,000, it was from their half. The deal has never changed. Truett never envisioned operators make the kind of money they're making today. 7 operators last year made over $1 million. He never once, nor have I heard any member of the Cathy family say operators are making too much money. When you talk about the Chick-fil-A operator concept and how much money operators are making, Truett would just smile at you because he knew, okay, if they're making this, then I'm making this. And the deal never changed. And it's part of it goes all the way back to my interview with him. I want to be able to trust you. There you go. He wanted operators to be able to trust him, that he wasn't going to mess around with the deal, and he never did, and we never will. The net of this story, my story, is probably best summed up in Psalms 37. Trust in the Lord and do good, dwell in the land and feed on his faithfulness. I love that. Delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Gentlemen, my testimony is all that is true. This sometimes be hard for me, but I was sharing with Steve and Don last night. I'm not smart enough, and quite honestly, the other leaders at Chick-fil-A, if they were up here with me, would say the same thing. We're not smart enough to explain everything that has gone on with Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is a business where God's word has been undergirded the principles and the values of the business. Truett never saw the business as a platform to evangelize, but he did see the business as a platform to honor God and positive influence. First and foremost, he saw it as a business. He used to say the lifeblood of a business is profits. We have to be a great business first. But God has honored the principles that have been embedded in that business because of him and his family and the other leaders he attracted to the business. I've been the beneficiary of that. And if I look back over not just my career at Chick-fil-A, but my entire life, my entire career, my entire experience with Diane and my family, there are no major milestones in my life that I planned. I didn't plan any of them. But, and I'll confess, I'm not a great student of this book. But the few principles and promises that grabbed hold of me, he's honored. Starting with the death, burial, and resurrection of his son. So he's favored Truett. He's favored me. He's favored Diane. By the way, my son is type 1 diabetic. And we discovered that in 1995. He rebelled against that disease. It almost killed him. So we have had crises in our life, besides some of the ones that we've experienced in Chick-fil-A. I'm confident that as I enter a new season, because I retired at the end of this year from Chick-fil-A, but as we talked last night, I intend to relaunch. I'm excited about what God may have for me to do, and involved in different ministries, staying involved in the college football space. As a member of his family, it's been an unbelievable adventure, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And it's a lot easier and a lot more peaceful, and I don't lose any sleep when I depend on his faithfulness and his guidance. I rest really good. I don't have a forced agenda. If there's anything I've learned, it's all the significant milestones in my life were not my agenda. Never is. So I'm confident the future should be no different. Troy Cathy passed away in September. He was 93. And without question, he was my second dad. You know, we all need role models. He was one. He still is. And my challenge to you is unbeknownst, it may be unbeknownst to you, you're probably the role model for somebody. I'll close with this story. You may recall a few years ago, a long time ago, the Thunderbirds, the flying group for the Air Force, they had a major crash out in the desert. All four went down. They asked the commanding general of the Air Force, how in the world could that happen? He says, it's real simple. The only pilot flying is the lead in the formation, is the lead pilot. The other three pilots are flying his wingtips. Who's flying your wingtips?
To let Cathy interview.
Okay. I have a last question. How would you like to be remembered?
I think I would like to be remembered as kind, generous, loving, faithful, dependable, person with integrity. Many of those attributes that we all seek and should desire, I think the things just a quality individual. We normally attach success to material wealth, but that's not success at all. A man is successful in many areas of his life. His relationship with the Lord, his relationship to the family, to his community. I've been richly blessed. I've received far more than I deserve to have. It's a reminder to me as I come into work each day, why am I coming to work? Why am I alive? I would hope that I have had a positive impact on a lot of people.